Tremendous ridicule and character assassination have chosen to speak out in opposition. Tonight, I promise you will leave here knowing that new language, your eyes wide open and a clear vision of the enemy within. It's not a foreign army, they don't wear uniforms, and some may even live in your neighborhood. So let's get started. First, I'd like to introduce you to a fellow member of our little group. His name is Kevin Smith. You may know Kevin as a former radio producer with Alex Jones. We know him as a friend and neighbor residing on his ranch in Elgin. Kevin is a foot soldier. He's lived and worked in the trenches fighting against tyranny and governmental takeover. With that, Kevin Smith. All right.
Thank you, I appreciate it. As she said, I was a former producer for Alex Jones. I invested pretty heavily in this fight. I kind of got to a point where, man, I don't know that the world wants to be saved. They seem pretty happy and content to watch the bread and circus go on. I think I can do something with my family ranch, my family tradition. I can raise food for me and people around me. I can simplify my life. I can get out of that Zardoz containment dome that Austin was becoming. And I thought I'd have a few years. It turned out I didn't. I took part in some planning boards in Elgin, and it was centered on redevelopment of agriculture. I'm a member of Holistic Management International. They picked Elgin as their pilot project for a program called Ag Town Turnaround. I was very surprised and pleased that took place. But it didn't take long to figure out we were being data mined. We were being, they were trying to catch the cool catchphrase. They wanted to know the lingo. They wanted the icing but none of the cake. And I said, why are you data harvesting me? We're supposed to co-op together to build markets. And, well, we need data for the federal grants. What federal grants? Why do we need federal grants? And, well, so-and-so's worked on her master's. She's data harvesting. Oh, really? You got your master's thesis accepted? You can read it online? Where'd you come out of? School of Economic Geography or what? Oh no, School of Public Affairs. And it horrified a friend of mine. We just gave each other those looks because if you've been in Austin long enough, the LBJ School of Public Affairs is a den of vipers. I mean, these are the professional liars. These are the manipulators. These are people that, you know, the Assistant Secretary of State under Hillary Clinton, James P. Steinberg, was the dean there. He wrote the preemptive war doctrines at the Brookings Institute. I mean, these guys have never even been slapped. They've never been in a fist fight, but they're planning to destroy half the world, us with it, and that's part of the goal. So, I'm going to introduce Jim, but I want everybody to understand this Agenda 21 has been going on since the Rio Summit in '92, where they codified it and said, we've had these ideas, here's what we're going to do. A lot of people were ridiculed for saying it. What do you think's going on right now? I mean, what are the drones in the sky about? What are the tanks about? What are the ammo buys about? What are the smart meters on your house? What are the deliberate dumbing down of your children, turning them against you? What is all this stuff about? You cannot ignore what is going on. And inside every one of you is a leader, is a fighter. You know, we're just a small group of people that got together, and I intentionally stayed out most of it because I wanted to see other people shine, and they have. So, times to stop yelling at the TV at the football game. No reason to punch that guy out for a bad call at home plate at Little League. I mean, guys, you've got a tribalism in you, and it's built to save the people around you. You need to activate that again. And the women right now are carrying too much of the burden. I mean, they're in a position where they feel cornered. They're going to fight for their people, and you all ought to pay attention. So, I want you to know, our glorious leader, Kurt Watson, is one of the main thrusts behind this stuff. Watch for him. If you figured it out that they're not saying what people want to hear anymore, they don't care. You know, they're digging in their heels. And I can quote, you know, my people perish for lack of knowledge, information is power. You know all these things. The Captain McDonald of the Texas Rangers says, no man in the wrong can stand against the man in the right who keeps it coming. And we got to keep coming because they're keeping coming. Yeah! I like to call these guys carpetbaggers, neo-carpetbaggers, but I'm telling you, it's not about the profit necessarily. These guys are social engineers. They are Bolsheviks. They mean to re-engineer this society. And if you're in the way, so be it. Because they'll tell you, we got your kids. Ultimately, we got your kids, and they're not worried about it. Stand up and fight, guys. All right? The only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for us to do nothing. So do something. I'm going to bring up my friend Jim Mars. There's not enough time to ever go over his bio. Give me an hour. I grew up in, my mom's from Elgin, McDade, Lee County. Growing up in Arlington, Fort Worth area, I thought there was only one newspaper in the world, and it was the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. And Jim was a reporter for crime, military. He used to teach a class at UT for 30 years or so, probably 30 years on the JFK assassination. He's done one on UFOs. Normally I say, nah, I don't want to hear about that stuff, I can't prove it. Well, if Jim says it, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to pay attention. And he's going to be the perfect MC for this event. He's a local boy that's made good, back to bad though. His newest book, Our Occultic History, is going to be a New York Times bestseller like most of them are. So you can talk to him after the event. He's going to be in Austin on Saturday at Brave New Books. Harlan's here helping. I appreciate that, Harlan. If you want to get into that subject, Our Occultic History, that's Saturday night. Tonight's Agenda 21. I'm going to get out of the way. These people are going to give you the tools, the information to go out. And if these guys want to be tyrants, they want to be would-be tyrants, then we're going to make them act like it, okay? Good night.
Slowest draw in the West. Thank you very much. Howdy. Howdy. There we go. Thank you. You know, the West Coast go to the East Coast and say howdy and everything. Feel like I'm here among home folks. And that's good and not so good. The good is because I'm here among home folks. The not so good is that we're being taken for a ride in Texas. Texas, you know, was a republic. And we've always been our own selves, and we've been very, very self-sufficient, and we've been able to take care of our own business fairly well over the years. And now that doesn't seem to be enough. Now we've got to have somebody outside come in and tell us how to run our business, right? Of course, I guess that's what I'm doing tonight. See, I'm your outside consultant. I come from out of your county to tell you what you already know. So. But I may have a few little wrinkles here that you're unaware of. I'm going to make a presentation a little bit and kind of give you the big picture. In the meantime, though, some of you don't know who I am. My background is pretty simple. I'm just an old Texas newspaper reporter. I worked for the Star-Telegram, as Kevin said. I worked for the Denver Record Chronicle and the Lubbock Avalanche Journal while I was doing graduate work out at Texas Tech. I am pretty much homegrown, and yes, I do know about the Kennedy assassination. Because number one, I was looking into that from the day it happened. I was collecting newspapers and watching the TV as the events rolled by within 15 minutes of the shooting. And I taught a course on the assassination of President Kennedy at the University of Texas at Arlington for 30 years, retiring in 2007 after, so that takes me back to 1976. And boy, believe me, back in 1976, if you said anybody did it other than Oswald, then you were just really kind of far out there. But today, the polls show that everybody's kind of caught up with me. But enough about me. Let's roll on here. Right now, I'd like to introduce Mary Bowen. Mary has been a teacher for, well, let's just say 3 decades anyway. We don't want to date Mary. She looks like a young spring chicken. And she has a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And in addition to teaching, she's taught method courses and supervised student teachers in the field and designed programs for children. She was invited by Senator Dan Patrick to testify before the Senate Education Committee. And she's also testified before the Texas State Board of Education on C-Scope. And C-Scope, in case you don't know what it is, you need to learn, because it is a curriculum where they're binding together all the curriculums, and they are saying, okay, now here's what we say you should teach, and here's how you should teach it. And before I bring Mary out, I'm just going to share one little experience that I know of personally. My wife, who was teacher for years and years, just retired a couple of years ago. Had a really good friend that was a teacher of English literature. She is now, that teacher has now resigned. Why? Because she was appalled to learn that under C-scope she was to teach English literature, but the students were not required to read even one book. Don't read a book, but we're going to learn about English literature. That's C-scope in action. Mary Bowen.
Told that I had 3 minutes to speak, and I'm a teacher, so hey, I can't even teach you how to pronounce my last name in 3 minutes. So I'm going to do my best in the 10 minutes that I understand I now have. But I want to start out by asking you, if you saw a child that was toddling toward the street, how many of you would reach out and grab that kid's hand before they were in danger? If you've got your hand up right now, I want you to hold on to that idea. Because before I'm done talking, I'd like you to sign up to participate in something. First of all, what I'm talking about today is implemented in over 80% of the schools across Texas, and it's affecting over 3.5 million children. C-scope is called a curriculum, but about 7 years ago, when it was brought into the schools, I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And I saw some things that were making me very, very concerned. First of all, C-scope doesn't have any spelling component. Doesn't teach any geography. It doesn't incorporate any novels or any reading in grade level text. It doesn't have any textbooks, or it's discouraged, the use of textbooks are discouraged. But I tried to reserve my judgment about C-scope because at first when it was brought in, we were told, hey, if you have a better lesson than C-scope, please go ahead and use your own material. Well, that sounded good to me because I got into teaching because I have file cabinets full of fabulous lessons to do with kids. And the lessons in C-scope were, in my opinion, very mediocre. But after C-scope had been in our schools for a few years, then teachers were told, you know what, we'd really like you to give these lessons a try. Before you decide not to use them, we'd like you to use C-scope lessons, and then tell us what you think. About 4 years into it, we were told, we're looking for team players. And we need for you to use the C-scope program, and if you're not a team player, well, maybe you don't like teaching. Last year, at the beginning of this year, in order to get onto the C-scope website, we had to click onto a legal document saying that we would be held to legal recourse if we disclose the lessons to anyone. In the state of Texas, according to our state code, parents have every single right to see every single lesson that I teach. You have the right by law to see every test that your child takes after it's graded, and then they're allowed to bring it home. So this raised the concern of Senator Patrick and our State Board of Education that parents were being kept from seeing the materials. Now, originally I testified before the State Board of Education about my experiences with C-scope. Then later I was the only real classroom teacher that was invited to speak on a panel before Senator Patrick's Education Committee. And I was the teacher who held up the lesson, which I'm holding right here, asking our Texas students to look at communist flags, to use the colors of socialism, and here I'm going to read to you their assignment. This is the actual worksheet. Notice socialist and communist nations use symbolisms on their flags representing various aspects. Imagine that you're starting a new socialist nation, and you are creating a flag, and you have been put in charge of creating a flag. And here it asks the students to design